You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
By the way. Hey, you are listening to the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. I am David.
And I am Jason.
And it is good to be back. You know, I wasn't here last week, Jason. How did the show go last week?
The show went really well before we get into it, though. Hey, Chris, how you doing today, buddy?
What's up, Chris?
He's not even ready.
I'm doing good. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
The show last week was, I think the best thing about it was you weren't here, Dave.
I wasn't here.
And we're going to get into a little bit why you weren't here, which is some pretty exciting stuff.
You just like that I wasn't here because you could talk more.
Well, Christiana was here, and she's a lot prettier than you are. There's no question
There
about
is
that.
definitely no question about that.
The show went good. Betty Aldworth was here from Amendment 64.
Marijuana Policy Project. She's awesome.
Yep, she is.
Betty's awesome.
Yep, I've known Betty for... right when she started at Full Spectrum, when they were still around.
And she's been one of the greatest spokespeople for the Marijuana Policy Project for helping getting the issues across for Amendment 64. And I would like to say that she's very integral in helping get it passed. She will not take the credit for it, so I think we need to give her the credit.
Yep. Well, there was a whole team that went into it.
Whole team.
From people here, people not
Mason Tavert, Brian Vicente, Christian Cedarberg, Rob Corey, Betty, Rob Campy. I mean, there's a whole list of people that there's no way we're going to name them all, but those are the ones that just popped into my head now. So I'm sorry if I forgot you. Aaron.
Yep.
Which I just forgot his last name. So I'm sorry, Aaron.
No, it was so it was good. I'll be very interested to see what happens. I mean, we're going to get into some stuff here with some other states now, pushing some lawmakers in some other states pushing to legalize marijuana.
Yeah. My New Englanders.
So it's going to very, very interesting to see which of these guys from Marijuana Policy Project are going to be recruited from these other states to go ahead and help them out. Maybe none. Maybe some.
I think what's interesting is that it's legislators and lawmakers that are looking to legalize recreationally now, which is probably going to cost a lot less money to get passed through as we did for 64. Yep. I actually appreciate the fact that the voters voted it in here, and I love that fact because it's in our Constitution and, in Colorado's Constitution at the least. But I do want to, let's talk about a little bit why I was not here.
Dave.
Let's talk about me for a minute. Here? I actually attended the National Marijuana Business Conference last week, which was being held here in Denver. It was really eye-opening because, you and I have both been to multiple events and national events, KushCon back in the day when Kush Magazine existed, and very different feel this time. First of all, obviously everybody was on cloud nine. Because of the passing of 64 and Washington legalizing as well.
And we'll have to say Kush put on a pretty good convention.
They did. We got to give credit where credit was due. Yep. Everybody was very excited about the new prospects for our industry and the further legitimizing of it. And then, of course, we have to mention, Massachusetts at a 2-1 vote. That's considered a landslide voting to pass medical marijuana.
How's your folks feel about that? Because
they're very excited. In fact, what I love about it is my parents are like, the day they voted, because they voted earlier, they mailed in ballot.
Your dad's Bob, right?
Paul.
Paul, that's my middle name. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So, Paul, if you're listening, my middle name is Paul.
Yeah, no, they're in Atlanta right now, which is not a pro-marijuana state, but they were very excited and they were very proud when they called me up, and my dad's like, I voted today and I voted for medical marijuana in Massachusetts, and I was just like, right on, Dad. And it was just kind of funny because there's definitely been a shift in my life, going from a point where I've been smoking cannabis since I was a late bloomer for a lot of people, although I'm glad I was.
But only while it's been legal, though, correct, Dave?
No, not correct. Let's be honest here. I inhaled, absolutely, and it was the end of my freshman year in college. It was the first time I actually smoked cannabis, and from then on, I noticed a decline in my drinking habits and an increase in my smoking habits when I was partying.
All right, so do you remember where you were?
I can't name it. It was a house party. I went to Syracuse University.
Was it a girl?
No, it wasn't. It was with my friends. One was my roommate, Ryan White, who, I know that's a name that goes down in infamy, but, poor guy that he had to live with that name right around the time of the whole AIDS thing. But, sorry, just they're not trying to be insensitive to it, but that's what it was. He had that name. And Rich Cashton, who is actually, probably shouldn't mention these guys' names, but it's too late now. Richard, I would say he was
those are fake names.
They're fake names. They are fake names. He was my roommate in New York, actually, when I first moved to New York after college, and he was the person who taught me that you could be a completely functioning pothead. Interestingly enough, he does live in Amsterdam now, and he writes for the Hemp Connoisseur.
Yep. He had a great article in this last issue.
Yeah, he did the interview. His writing name is Binger Hashman, but he did the 20-question interview with Mila Jansen, who's considered the godmother of hash. Great interview that he did with her. But he taught me that you could be functional. I couldn't believe it. He would go to bed every night taking a bong hit, and then he would repack that bong. It would be right next to his bed, and I would hear him in the morning. And this is what I would hear. What I would wake up to every morning was just, and just like him sucking on that bong. And then he would get out of bed. And that's how we started a day. But he would go work out. He would get all the stuff done. There you go. That's a much better sound. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for the sound effects. But he would get all this stuff done before I even got around. And I wasn't smoking in the morning because, God, I couldn't do that. I wasn't a big wake and baker when I had stuff to do. But he could. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, wow. I thought people couldn't function like this. But, obviously you can. So anyway, that was a big tangent, but we're going to have quite a few tangents. Our guest is going to be called in today, so we were expecting him earlier. We have Tony Verzura from River Rock.
River Rock, yep.
Great dispensary, and we're going to hear what Tony has to say about 64 and what we're looking at the future for marijuana industry in Colorado.
And I think he won some awards this past
He did win some awards this past HempCon. Yep, they did. They got quite a few second and third places. I believe they did get first place. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I have a magazine here, so during our break, I'll look it up so I can make sure I have the accurate information.
Exactly where it's at, yep. You know what I think is fantastic about that?
What?
Is that they published all their awards that they won from our magazine
in another magazine. They did do that. But you know what? It's the same thing in our magazine. If somebody's won the High Times Cup, they publish it there. You want to brag about any award you get. So I appreciate that they did that, of course, because it's kind of like free publicity for us, and we like that.
All right, so why weren't you here, Dave?
Okay, so again, I was at the National Marijuana Business Conference. So, these were some of the biggest most professional business owners in the industry across the country coming in. There were people in Arizona who were still working to getting their dispensaries going, and I had some people from Massachusetts that are already looking to open up the first medical dispensaries out there, and so they wanted to be in the conversation as to what's going on. And of course, the biggest topic of conversation was 64 in Colorado, and then of course Washington passing it. And we talked to some Washington people quite a bit there as well, and kind of got more of a scope of what's going on in Washington State. It's going to be taken over by the state liquor board on the regulation side, so they're kind of lumping it all together there. Sure. Whereas here, we're going to have our medical marijuana enforcement. Well, our marijuana enforcement division. We have to. Yeah. That was one of the things we talked about. Is we have to start changing the conversation that we have here in Colorado.
Yep, to consumers.
Yeah, where they're not going to be patients anymore. They're going to be consumers. There will be patients, of course.
Isn't it great though? We for a while now, I think a lot of people have known that this is going to happen, and now that it's so real, it's great. And they change it from medical to consuming,
and it's still very
recreational.
It's still a very passionate conversation for some people. Obviously, the people that were against this, some people are like, "Well, I was against it, but now that it's passed, it is what it is." And then other people are still very I want to say, I guess the best way to put it would be ignorantly passionate about the fact, against the fact that it's legalized. And a perfect example is my girlfriend works in a bar, and she was having a conversation with one of the regulars there who was incredibly upset about the fact that 64 passed. And she's like, God, I really wish you were there because you talk about this on a regular basis. And she's like, I don't feel like I'm versed enough in the subject to talk about it.
Your girlfriend said that?
Yes.
Okay.
Jackie. And but one of the things he was saying, well, it's not really proven to be medical, and it's not proven to be this, and it was funny because part of me was like, I was getting angry with her reiterating this conversation to me. I was like, God, I really wish I was there for this conversation, because I was like, first of all, because he's like, do you even know what's in this law? And he was acting like he did. And then all he was talking about was because he's a pharmacist. By the way, I have to give you that background. He's a pharmacist.
Okay, well, that's why, because this this product replaces so many of his products that he sells.
Exactly. But the interesting thing about it was because he kept talking about it like it's not medical, it's not medical, it's not medical. And part of me was just like, you know what? We're done with that conversation.
And he's at a bar, right?
And he's at a bar. He's at a bar. Thank you very much for pointing that out. He is at a bar having a drink. And he was complaining about it's not medical, and he's asking her, do you even know what's in the bill? And I'm sitting there going, obviously this guy doesn't know what's in the bill because he's talking about it as a medical thing now, and we're now shifting the conversation to recreational. Here's the thing. We're always going to talk about marijuana as a medicine because it is. We've got enough evidence and proof, and of course, if I was there, I would have been citing ridiculous amounts of information, being like, because he kept saying, there's no research about it. And I'm like, really?
Well, and that's yesterday we were at your house, and I'm not sure which news station
it was Fox News, local Fox News. Yes.
And I was seriously, if your PlayStation controller would have been closer, I would have thrown it at the television because there was a doctor on the TV.
They called her a medical expert.
A medical expert, right?
Not a cannabis expert.
And you may have to look it up, but I believe she said that it was 40 times worse than smoking cigarettes. Mm-hmm. Man, I really would like to see those numbers of deaths.
She also said highly.
That'd be great.
She also said highly addictive. She said it had highly addictive properties. She said a lot of the age-old adages we've heard about cannabis from the misinformation, and she was just spouting off basically reefer madness. Oh, it makes men sterile. It takes away their libido. I really have no evidence of that in my life. I don't know, but and different things like that. And I was just like, wow, you're really just like recycling all the oldies but goodies, with really nothing to back it up. And I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm like, wow, they're still bringing these same old arguments out even after the fact. And obviously this was local Fox News. I know that's not the same as what I like to call faux news because, Fox News Channel is I actually watch it just for good comic relief.
There's a lot of action on Fox. I mean, they really like to, view like high-speed chases and stuff like that. They're really good at
the girls look good.
Yeah. They do look good.
Melanie Mendez.
We like to call them news models.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're no longer news reporters.
They're trying to copy.
They
like
do
Mexico.
they do have the hottest women on Fox. They do a really, really good job at.
Okay, let's go back to the Marijuana Business Conference. So there was a lot of really great topics being brought up. I mean, there was those nuts and bolts topics that we're not going to cover today, which was like how to deal with tax situations that they're dealing with in the industry, how to deal with, getting a new banking system and all this kind of interesting stuff like that. And there was actually, I want to mention, there was one interesting possible solution for the banking problems in the marijuana industry. And I want to look into seeing how far this could go. But there are Native American reservations that are thinking of starting their own banks because, as most of you probably know, is Native American reservations are considered sovereign properties. That means they can govern themselves in any way, shape, or form as long as they're not violating any crazy federal laws. But even still, there's a possibility that all these Native American reservations, with all the money they were making from the casinos, are going to start their own banks, and then those banks can then start helping out marijuana businesses, which would be a great solution. And it would be great. I love any time the Native Americans can stick it to our government. Please bring it on. You deserve it.
Yes,
right. I mean,
give it to the man.
Give it to the man.
Well,
I mean,
and you found a credit card processor in the process too, right?
There are credit card processors that are coming out of the woodwork now that are focusing on the marijuana industry. So this is all good news for the future. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that was talked about is what's going to happen for the future of states like Colorado and Washington, with the full legalization of marijuana recreationally. And everybody's talking, well, the federal government's going to come in, they're going to shut it down. But the consensus by most people and most of these industry experts is that the federal government, first of all, does not have the resources to stop us.
Right.
I've also heard some interesting things. I'm not going to name names or organizations, but you're aware of this as well because we were at a large investment group meeting on Wednesday, the day before, and there was a lawyer who is positioned with one of the big lobbying groups for the marijuana industry, and they were called Wednesday morning from the Obama administration. Mm-hmm. This is the Wednesday after the election. Called from them saying, look, we have our 2-year plan coming up that we're working on. And we want to meet with you this week, and they might have already met, and I'm going to be emailing him tonight actually to find out any of the information about that, to discuss marijuana and the future of marijuana legislation in the United States. This is huge, because, first of all, if they're making that call to marijuana lobbyists, then that means they're willing to sit down and listen and have a dialogue.
And open up the conversation.
And the other thing I want to say is, I did vote for Obama, and but I'm actually even more impressed with the Obama administration and how fast they moved. They made this one of their first phone calls because he said it happened on Wednesday morning. So, he just got reelected. He obviously already had a plan and action that would be implemented if he was reelected to start getting the ball rolling on that. And as soon as they knew they were reelected, they were like, obviously, this is what we're doing. We don't have to worry about a transition to a Romney presidency. We're just moving into our second term. What is our plan of action for the next term? And they started enacting it day one. That's impressive.
So putting yourself in Obama's shoes, do you think he was looking at Colorado and Washington? I mean, he probably obviously knew the amendments that were on the board and what could be passed and see exactly what it was. And I don't think there's any way that he didn't know what was what was about to happen or what was going on in these states. And when it finally happened, I think you're right. I think he definitely had a plan in place prior to this, anticipating that the legalization was going to be there.
Well, we're going to pontificate about this when we get back from our break. We do have to go to a break. We do. I absolutely want to talk about that. I agree with you. I do think he has a plan in place. I think that's very indicative of the fact that he called Wednesday morning, the day less than 24 hours after he accepted his the presidency for the next term. So let's go to a break, and we'll be right back to talk a little bit more about that. Thanks for joining us.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance for all of the uses of the cannabis plant. You can find the Hemp Connoisseur in over 200 7-Elevens, your local dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Also, visit us online at thcmag.com or download our brand new app for your smartphone.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we are back. So when we left the break, we were talking about what do we think Obama's going to do?
Well, during the break, I actually pulled it up. I just did a Google search for Obama or marijuana policy, and actually something came up.
What did it say?
And it says in a rare interview, he says the Obama, and I don't know, I'm not sure who he is, but he says the Obama administration approached the shit. Let me start over.
That's pretty much what I just said, isn't it?
No shit. Obama administration's approach to marijuana is totally insane. He thinks they should be bolder, urging Congress to decriminalize and consider an executive order if necessary. So we'll see what's gonna.
Well, that's somebody else's opinion who we have no idea it is on Obama. But let's give our opinions on this. We're gonna look into our little crystal ball, and we're gonna talk about what we think the Obama administration is going to do. I mean, like personally, and I think we're both in alignment with this, I actually think that we are going to see a declassification of marijuana in the next year. I think that's one big statement that he can make, and he can do that.
Sure.
And I think that they're going to take a hands-off approach to the states. I mean, look, this is history repeating itself. When Prohibition happened, there were states, and hey, funny to think about, Colorado was the first state to repeal Prohibition. How about that?
Here we are.
And here we are again doing it, for marijuana. And it's the same thing. It is that same cycle. The states started legalizing alcohol consumption again, and then the federal government finally caved and said, okay, yeah, here we go. I mean, this was a terrible experiment.
Well, they probably said, hey, we need our nut now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that's what we're going to start seeing. I think if we do see anything, luckily we're waiting a year for the full legalization aspect, where by January of 2014, that is when any consumer can legally purchase cannabis if they're over 21
in
Colorado if they're over 21.
What year was that again?
That was 2014, January 1st of 2014.
2014.
So
that would not be next year, Chris.
That would
be
the year
following
afterwards.
year.
I know. I'm just trying to get people
well,
that
and
are listening.
Did you guys break that down with Betty last week for
What's
people? And we'll do that too. We'll get into that. We'll break down kind of what your rights are right now as a Colorado citizen, and go into that. We'll do that in a minute.
Yeah, we did all that last week. But
you did.
Can,
we should do it again because you know what? We're still fielding calls, and I know a lot of our clients are dispensaries, and I'm sure Tony from River Rock can say the same thing. As people are calling these dispensaries nonstop, asking them when they can come in and purchase.
Yep.
The next day they did.
Yeah, next day they did, of course. So we'll get into it. But when it comes to Obama, I think that we're going to see a very different presidency. First of all, he's not running for re-election.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about straddling two sides of a fence and making two people happy at the same time. Mm-hmm. He can really kind of focus a little bit more. And, and he does have a bit of a mandate from this last election and what happened. I mean, this was a very progressive election cycle. I mean, as far as what was passed. I mean, gay marriage was passed in 2 states where the state citizens voted to allow for it. That's huge. That's a very progressive topic. And then we have marijuana legislation being passed. Legalization for 2 states, medical for another one, which was again like a landslide in Massachusetts. So I think the people are speaking. They're making their voices heard. And then we have, of course, all those instances that we've talked about of juries in states that are not legal at all saying we're not going to find this person guilty. And I think that's a little good segue into Boulder and in Washington. This is the first repercussions of the recreational laws passing in Washington and Colorado are already happening. And I think that's huge. So, if you want to speak about that, because I've been talking so much.
No sweat. But real quick, I want to actually take a step back because with the Obama administration actually stepping forward, and now just so you guys know, the 4 states that are looking to legalize and regulate it, like Colorado and Washington or Maryland, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Massachusetts. So
go New England.
Go New England. And so maybe that's how it happens. I'm not really too sure that you're going to get a whole bunch of neighboring states in a little cluster. Maybe they all legalize, and the visiting states next to those, they're going to see a boost in tax revenue just from people crossing the border, like they're already starting to do in Colorado. It's a little bit early right now in Colorado because the governor still has 21 days to go ahead and sign this into law. But after that, anybody can come in from any state, and they can't walk into a center and purchase, but I could go into a center if I have my red card, purchase the product, and then give it to them for free.
Yep.
You
could.
kidding?
You could. So there's that gray area. We were just discussing that
earlier today. Yeah. And so, that's what Betty made clear on last week's show is that's what can happen. You can't sell it to them, but you can give it to them. So it raises the question: can I give you money to walk into a center and then you bring me my product back out?
Well, essentially, if you say it in that way, Jason, no. But say I just said, Jason, you're a really good friend of mine. Here's $40, and I give you $40. And then you go, wow, man, Dave was really nice of me to give me $40. You know what? I'm going to go buy an eighth. And then you turn around and say, you know what, Dave? Thanks. Here's the eighth for you. And I just wanted to give this to you out of appreciation. If you put it in that way,
basically the same way.
It's all semantics, but the life world occurs like that.
So that I'm just in another way. Instead of putting it in pot terms, well, like say marijuana, say they want to grow, could you be like, dude, you're an awesome friend. Here is a seed.
Yes.
Yeah. Please grow.
Yes.
It.
Yes.
Take care of it.
Yeah. In 21 days, these guys are going to be able to grow by themselves. So if you own a hydroponic store,
without the new regulations that are going to be developed in 2014, here's what you're legally allowed to do right now in Colorado. Well, let's just say within 30 days of the election. So let's just say December 5th. Okay. By December 5th, anybody over the age of 21 it is your constitutional right. You can legally grow 6 plants. Now, 3 of those plants can only be in flower at a time. So you could go right ahead and say, okay, go ahead and plant 3 seeds on December 5th. And then, wait a month and a half later and plant another 3 seeds. Now, if you happen to live in a house with 4 or 5 adults, let's just say 4 adults, you can now, in that house, have 24 plants, being half of which could be in harvest mode, and the other half couldn't be. But you could have 24 plants grown in that house.
But that's not the way it is now.
That's the way it'll be in a month.
I know, but it's not the way that it is now. So just those of you that are living with multiple people in a house, if you're red carded, you still can't grow 6 for every single person.
And then you have to deal with the real estate issues of rentals. Now, when you sign a lease, leases are going to be adjusted. There are going to be landlords who don't care, and they're going to say, "Go ahead and utilize your constitutional right."
It's going to be like, "Do you have a dog, cat, or grow marijuana?"
Grow marijuana. Exactly. No, there is going to be, and then there might be a marijuana deposit. There's a lot of industry that's going to come out of this, and we already know that it's a pretty big machine as this industry goes. But now we're talking about really amping it up. But the other thing is, say I live in an apartment where my landlord says, "No, you cannot grow marijuana in this apartment." I could sign over my constitutional right to you, Jason, and you could grow it out of your house. So you can grow 12 plants out of your house because I signed over my constitutional right to grow my 6 plants, and now you get to grow them. So you could do that legally. What is illegal, and it is absolutely illegal, is you cannot sell that medicine that you
got to give it to them.
You have to give it to somebody.
Now what about somebody donating to offset some of the expense of the bills that it costs to grow that product? Electricity, the equipment and that sort of thing.
Now you could say I guess you could ask for a donation, and then we'd probably want to talk to Rob Corey or Warren Edson about this one, and make sure that we're not giving anybody bad advice.
Well, wouldn't it be like 2 friends wanting to buy a boat?
In a way, like
right.
say you said, "Hey, I want
not federally illegal."
Well, say you said, "I want you to grow 6 plants for me." All right, and I said, "Okay, I'll grow 6 plants for you, but you have to pay for my electric bill for me to grow those plants for you, or you have to pay a portion of my electric bill because I'm going to incur costs by growing those plants for you." That would probably be something. Now, I don't know how that would work out. I mean, would it be like I would write a check directly to Excel, or I just give you some cash and then you put it towards the Excel bill? I mean, I would think that that's something that would be considered allowable, but as soon as there's an exchange of money for the medicine, that's when it would be considered illegal.
And if the lawmakers are listening to the show, because we know that every single lawmaker listens to this show, that might be a good thing to clarify for the general public. There's
a lot of things that are going to have to be clarified for the general public. But what is illegal right now, what is legal as of December 5th, let's just say, because it 30 days for the governor to sign this bill into law, and he is going to sign it into law. He's already said it. He might wait till the 30th
he has
day.
to, whether he wants to or not.
Well, he could have done it already. I don't even know. I don't think he has, but he could do it now, or he could wait. But within 30 days, he has to. But what's going to be legal is to grow 6 plants. To make it simple, you cannot buy it in a retail store, or I should say in a dispensary, because they're still medical marijuana centers, and you are still required to have a red card. Here's the one point of caution I would make to anybody out there who's a red card holder, and anybody who has been considering getting a red card. Just go get your red card for the next year, please. These dispensaries need to still be making the money that they make so that they can get their production up to par for 2014.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to wait a long time.
You got to still wait a year before you can purchase it legally. And here's the thing. What's going to happen is who's going to make the most money right now are going to be the hydroponic stores, the grow stores, because everybody's going to go, well, I'm going to go grow my own weed. Right. Here's the thing. You could grow bud, and it'll grow. I mean, you throw it in, you throw some lights up, it'll grow. It doesn't mean you're going to grow it well. All right? So what's going to happen is over the next year, there's going to be a lot of really bad bud being grown out of people's homes. That's what's going to happen.
Yes, there is.
There is.
And but the cost behind it is
already happening.
It's already happening, but now you're going to see a lot more of it.
But the cost behind growing it is still so expensive.
It is.
Seriously.
It is.
I mean, look, when you're growing this stuff, I don't care what anybody says. You can't go on vacations. You can't. I mean, it truly is like having a child in your house when you're growing this stuff. It's just it's crazy. And so just support the people that really truly know how to grow it. Support the industry and go purchase it. That's my 2 cents on it. I would never. I mean, I definitely know growing, but I would never grow it myself anymore because it's too much.
Yep. So we actually have to go to a break, and we kept saying, well, we felt like there wasn't going to be as much to talk about today because we didn't have our guests for the whole hour, but obviously there is still a lot to talk about on this aspect. So we'll get back into that, and we will be talking with Tony from River Rock when we get back. So we'll be calling him at the end of the next break. Yep. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
Dixie Elixirs and Edibles, the nation's premier infused product manufacturer, brings you the newest in hemp CBD wellness products, Dixie X. Derived from CBD for medicinal hemp, this non-psychoactive cannabinoid provides the medicinal effects of cannabis, but without the high. Join the Dixie X revolution today at www.dixiex.com or like us on Facebook, Dixie X or Dixie Elixirs.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
You're listening to Hemp Connoisseur Radio on iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we are back, and we are going to be making a phone call right now to Tony Verzura. I'm hoping I'm saying your name right, Tony. I know you're going to tell me in a minute. One of the partners of River Rock, one of my favorite dispensaries in Colorado. Man, they grow some great product. While we're ringing into Tony, hey, Tony, I'm just going to talk a little bit about you guys in the championship right now. Say hi, Tony.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So I'm just going to run through some of the accolades you guys got in the Hemp Connoisseur Championship. So sativa category, third place for their Jack Frost strain. Also in the indica category, you guys got Patient's Choice for the OG18. In the hybrid category, second place for your OGzel. And let's see, second place in our concentrate category for the Blackout Butter. That was some really good stuff, actually. Patient's Choice as well for the Blackout Butter. And then, of course, you guys got third place for the Puppy Chow mix that you guys have there with the help from Healthy Creations. And did I run through everything? I think I hit everything, right?
Sounds about right.
That's about right, man. That's a lot of accolades, you know. And it was
a really good night.
Yeah, it was a good night, and you know, and it was just good to see. It was funny there, you know, with all the winners, we were like, wow, there's not much of a surprise as to who got the guys who came to the top. You know, we kind of expected from the submissions it was going to be you guys, River Rock, Denver Leaf, and you know, of course, that's what happened. And so you said you've been listening to the show so far, huh?
Yeah.
So, you know, while we're still on the subject, what are some of your thoughts as to 64 passing? Were you somebody who was a supporter, or were you kind of worried about what would happen with the passing of it?
Well, I mean, you know, from my personal feelings on it, of course, I'm for the decriminalization of cannabis in Colorado, person or patient. I am for hemp. I am for a lot of the movement. I'm for opening that door at some point. I think that it was a shock and a surprise, not just to Colorado, but really the general public of the nation when when they had to sit back and say, wow, the regulation of cannabis, like alcohol, just had more votes than the president of the United States.
Yeah, it did. It definitely. I think it crossed both party lines. I agree.
Yeah. So when you had that, with Obama winning, with another state passing, with another medical state coming on board, you can't deny the movement and the amount of attention that it's now drawn upon throughout the medical industry, as well as now what everyone seems to be pushing for the regulation.
Right. Now, how concerned are you about the federal government on this? I mean, I know the conversation that we've been having and that we've been hearing last week was that they really don't have the resources to come in and stop this. I mean, do you feel that way as well, or do you feel like there's still, going to be a little bit of a reckoning when it comes to the feds?
I mean, I think anyone that has any kind of skin in the game would really be kind of a fool not to not to look at the federal repercussions. I do feel that the medical model and the way the Constitution is set up with Colorado, and the way the police powers are set up under the 10th Amendment with the U.S. Constitution, and the fact that the Justice Department just went on 60 Minutes and talked about how they were not making medical patients a priority or medical providers a priority. I think that was a huge step. And I think that lays the groundwork and the foundation for this next chapter, should there be a next chapter. I mean, it's really, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not, directly into the politics of it, but, it's definitely in my concern, it was a shot into the sky, and it hit the plane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And so now the plane has crashed into the mountain.
Yep.
Well,
that's a good way to put it.
Hey, Tony, it's Jason. And the fact that we have more states openly coming out saying that we want to follow the Colorado and the Washington model is now probably putting an oh shit thing back behind the federal government, saying they either got to hire in order to shut this thing down, or they got to get something figured out. I mean, Dave and I have crystal balls here. Where do you see this thing going? Because I know you got one too.
Honestly, it seems. I think there's going to be, like the Gannett and Polis and them are trying to propose a change on Section 903. I think you're going to see some pushes from the politicians that are in place. I think you're going to see a lot of push from the different organizations, nonprofits, and groups that are out there. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure along with solutions presented to the federal government. Now, it's complicated, from controlled substance acts to constitutional rights to the drug wars and everything they have to contemplate. But I do feel that the pressure is 150% on, and there will be solutions for them to look at and review. And I hope they understand that there's an entire nation of medical patients that are now counting on them as well. Because if they make the wrong move and they decide, hey, we're going to shut this down, they're going to affect millions of patients across the United States. And if they can look the American people in the eye and say, hey, we're going to shut it all down, and we're going to not attend to the public health and safety of our citizens in the United States, and we're going to take jobs away with the way the economy is, I would hope that we don't live in a country like that.
I agree. And it's much easier to give people more rights than it is to take their rights away, I think. And when especially when you're talking about something like cannabis, which is absolutely affecting quality of life for so many patients out there. What I like about 64 is there's a lot of, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, Tony, is a lot of people who are like, well, I feel like I want my red card and I want to get my prescription for cannabis, but I don't want to be on a list. And we all know that list is protected and you're not really in a public list or in any way, shape, or form. But there is that, perception by so many people. And now with just having to be 21 and over, you show your ID, it's not being logged in or anything, you're not on a list anymore, and it does respect a lot more people's privacy. I think that you're going to find a lot more people coming out of the woodwork wanting to purchase it legally for medical reasons, even though it is going to be considered a recreational substance after, by 2014.
Well, and I agree. I think if you look at the how many votes this has gotten and how many patients are registered, we're at 105. It's the highest it's ever been. And I think that is going to allow the other patients that were really protective and very cautious, they will come out. And I think the registry is going to continue to go up.
Yeah,
I think that'll be I think you're right. It'll give them a little more security in the sense that this is moving forward and, that there is a home for them.
Yeah. How many calls are you guys fielding at River Rock from people wanting to know if they can purchase right now?
I would, on our Facebook alone, I would say every 10 minutes to 30 minutes, I have somebody asking about that on being 21 or even just the whole across the states.
Yeah.
They just really don't understand. Like, it doesn't just, you don't just start running around in the street and throwing joints around and smoking and like, this is just, a free for all. This is going to take years. This is going to take over a year of hard work by a lot of groups, a lot of people. They're going to try to make that happen, and even then, it's not going to be like that, in my opinion.
I agree.
And what are you guys doing to educate the public out there? Because we also are fielding phone calls from people, through the Hemp Connoisseur and Nexus Meds, trying to, help these people figure it out or find out what to do or educate them. I mean, we can only post so much through social networking and keep up on it. Is there anything that you guys are doing special to educate the public?
It hasn't. The only thing I've been doing is, a show like this is great. There's different organizations that are putting together, forums, and they're putting together different panels and events and such for 64, and I think that incorporates. I think getting lawyers and the people that are some of the lawmakers and organizations together and uniting everyone to get those answers is where it's ultimately going to come from. It's not going to be one side, one organization. It's not going to be like that anymore. I think we all just need to come together, and then once that happens and we can kind of put the egos and everything aside, I think we're going to start to come up with solutions. And in the meantime, I'm just fielding them every time, just one by one case and talking to each individual and letting them know, that it's not till 2014 and the governor still has to sign it in, which he said he would. But I mean, there's so many steps between that.
There are. One of the things I'm hoping from, and maybe I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this, but I think we're going to see a little bit more solidarity among all the different groups and industries within, the professional groups within our industry here in Colorado, kind of working together to make sure that we do this right the first time now. There was such a there was a lot of lack of communication between all these organizations when it came to the medical regulations, and we obviously saw some growing pains in that by not being in on that conversation. I think that we've learned enough in the last couple of years with all the changes that I'm hoping that we can actually do this much smoother this time around.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think what happened, with the whole 1284 and everyone started to put the camera on medical and regulation, and you know what? I've been in this for 3 years with our entire team, and I honestly sometimes don't know how everyone, and ourselves included, survives. It is extremely difficult and hard to run a seed to sale operation through and through transparency and everything, and the issue is trying to provide to the medical patients what they need based on that plant count as well. So you can only grow as much as the patients that you have. And then each patient, what we found, has a diversity in what they actually want to consume, whether it's an edible or a concentrate or a flower.
Sure.
So most patients don't understand that it may take 10 grams of flower material to make 1 gram of concentrate.
Yep.
1 gram of concentrate can be exponential among edibles and different things, and there's different methods for that. So some patient may come in and say, hey, I really like to stick to edibles, but we can't really grow enough to create the product enough to create those edible lines to keep all of the different types of products in line. Right. It's an extremely hard challenge. I think it's the hardest business I've ever been in my life, and I think that anyone that's in this business that is in it for greed and thinks, okay, A64, here we go. I think the people that aren't in it for quality and aren't in it for the patients and aren't in it for the people, are not going to survive.
I absolutely agree with you. And it's funny. That's one of the things that we ask at the Hemp Connoisseur when we're looking to hire somebody. We're like, why do you want to be in this industry? And if the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, well, I want to make money, we're like, well, thanks. The interview's over. Appreciate it.
The industry doesn't need people like you.
Yeah.
Hey, but real quick, Tony, when we get back, I think it's great as far as it's a great segue into getting into there not being enough product in the market and how it can be balanced. But I do want to bring up something about a vertical integration versus a 3-tiered system. Right. Kind of get your thoughts on that. I'm not saying it's going that way, but we do need to take a break right now. So
if you can stick with us for a couple minutes during the break, we'd love to get back. All right, awesome. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Dixie Elixirs, the patient's choice for alternative medical marijuana treatment, brings you Dixie Botanicals all-natural topical therapy, including massage oil, pain relief salve, and our newest product, Dixie Botanicals Pain Relief Lotion. This all-natural lotion pairs beautifully with Dixie Botanicals bath salt for a deeply relaxing experience with no psychotropic effect. Like us on Facebook, Dixie Elixirs, or join us at www.dixieelixirs.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance for all of the uses of the cannabis plant. You can find the Hemp Connoisseur in over 200 7-Elevens, your local dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Also, visit us online at thcmag.com or download our brand new app for your smartphone.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we're back. Thanks for listening. We have Tony Verzura. Did I say that right, Tony?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Tony Verzura from River Rock Wellness. Awesome dispensary. If you guys don't check them out, where are your locations, Tony?
We are located at 4935 York Street. That is our north location. That's our main center. And then our other center is located on 6th and Calumet, right next to Lamar's Donuts at 990 West 6th Ave.
990 West 6th.
You planned that one perfectly.
Right next to the donut shop. That's perfect, right?
You know, I mean, it just happened to be there.
It just worked out well.
Those are, my favorite donuts.
So, you touched on, we all touched on, kind of what happened with dealing with 1284. Now, before 1284, you guys were just wholesale growers, correct?
I mean, I started as a patient first.
Okay.
And then I started with 6 plants and, 3 lights. And then I started to acquire, I think I got up to like 100 patients before I almost lost my mind trying to keep up with it.
Right.
Wow. And that's really kind of the turning point. And then, everybody kind of came together on my side and my partner at the time. I said, look, this actually is doing an injustice to the patients and myself. And in fact, I have an L4, L5 herniated disc and my T8 dislocated shoulder. Also went through ACL surgery this year. But back then, it was really taking a toll on my spine, to be honest with you. So I was a patient servicing other patients that then needed help myself.
Right.
That caregiver model with anything, with a lot of patients is very difficult to try to keep up and run out of the basement.
Sure.
And so when the 1284 passed, we went into a building and we did do a lot of center-to-center wholesale in the beginning before we could get our center up because back then you had the retail division or you had the manufacturing division.
Right.
And we didn't have to join forces then.
Yep.
And then that 1284 came and vertical integration came, and we had to open centers.
Right.
And we went from helping, I think, 200 and something centers to pretty much everything vertically integrated into our centers now.
Mm-hmm.
We're just now reaching out as of this month to get our product into other centers.
Wow. Well, and I remember when you guys were just getting the center open, Jason and I actually happened to walk in when you were just like, you guys were doing some decorating and kind of getting the whole front area on the York Street location set up. And we were like, wow. I remember Jason and I talking like, this is a huge center, man. How are they going to fill this up? But you guys have done an amazing job of really getting your name out there and having patients come and check you out, and have grown to be one of the busiest centers in Colorado, I would say. And it's always impressive every time I come in there, the way you guys operate.
Well, it's nice to know that there's some really professional people out there, because there are still some people that are still half-assing it, and there's probably always going to be people like that. But it's people like you and some other companies out there that are really stepping up and raising the bar, and setting the example for when people come in and do audits or want to look at a good quality model that's going to be effective in every market. You guys definitely have one of those set up. So
yeah.
But you brought up a thing too, as far as being a caregiver and being having two markets, the retail side of it and then the manufacturer side. And then when 1284 came in, you had to do the, you did have to grow 70. It was a 70-30 rule. But going into it is that we also in Nexus Meds, as you know, and we get calls every single day. First of all, trim's very, very, there's not much of it on the market right now, because these edible companies have stepped up and are producing really good products. But there's just so many of them out there. So what's your take on, in order to provide enough product to the market, whether it be trim or flower, to keep these companies in business, as far as going vertical integration versus a 3-tiered system where you have the manufacturer, the wholesaler, and then the retailer? Any thoughts on that?
What's the kind of in the dark on that 3-tier system?
Well, it doesn't exist right now. What I'm saying is that because there's not enough product in the market right now to supply to all the centers, is that if it did go down that way, because it is, the alcohol model is that way right now, where you have the 3-tier system.
You have the manufacturer, the distributor, and then the retailer. And what's in it right now for 64 is going to a 2-tier system, where you can be what you guys are, which is vertically integrated, or somebody can be just a grower, and then somebody can be just a retail market. So it's almost like we're backtracking from 1284 a little bit for the recreational side. They're not because there's not going to be a plant count for the recreational. I think it's what my understanding from when I had a conversation with Rob Corey about it, he's like, you're going to grow what the market's going to yield. Mm-hmm. So you can grow as much as you can, but obviously as a business owner, you don't want to grow a bunch and then waste it, because it's going to help bring your cost. It's going to bring the price of the medicine down. You're not going to make a lot of money.
Right.
So they are talking. So I guess what Jason's saying is, do you think that that's a better model, or do you think it would be even better to go even closer to the liquor model? We've been hashing out different conversations about this and saying, well, would there be a 3rd tier? Would it make sense to have somebody who's managing the distribution of all of this product and somebody who's just growing, and then you have the retail side too? And I'm sorry, what is that?
They're doing that in Washington, I think.
That's what they're doing in Washington. Yeah, well, the state liquor board in Washington is going to be regulating everything, which I don't know if they know what they're getting there hands into right now.
Yeah. So Tony, are you guys positioned to go and supply? Well, again, we're 14 months out, but are you guys going to be in a position to supply a lot of these smaller centers with product?
It's really hard. It's really hard to say on what the market's going to do or where it's going to be.
Right.
I can tell you, just being in it for 2 to 3 years, that I've seen a lot of trends between wintertime and summertime, and I think that's really the hard. The hard part seems to be that transition.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, there seems to be a lot of product. In the summertime, there's not enough product.
Yeah.
And that's like any seasonal place you go to. I used to live in Florida, and down south it's a seasonal business, and restaurants would be booming for a while, and then they'd get knocked out.
Sure. Yep.
I think what's really important is establishing, and my only fear is with everything that's going on, it's like, for us, our plan and what we want to establish is, and continue to raise, is the quality.
Mm-hmm.
So when other markets open up, I think you're going to see a lot of different levels of service and levels of quality.
Right.
And for us, our plan over the next 14 months is really raising that bar of quality, keeping the prices right for Colorado patients and the Colorado people, and kind of just catering to making us the home for the medical side. I haven't been able to get past keeping up with our medical patients and the medical patients that are registered, let alone to think about 500,000 new consumers on the market.
Oh, at least 500,000. Yeah.
500,000.
Yeah. So that's. I'm sorry. Go on.
I think that though, with a tiered system, as you were talking about, kind of like you said, if it did everything kind of panned out, so to speak, and we enter into 2014, and there's those models in place, the regulation for recreational, and then there's the medical, and centers like us, according to Rob, like you said, we have like this first right to this license.
Right.
And so I don't think it's all about like going unlimited and going as crazy as you possibly can. I think it's about trying to really fine tune the team that you have to get the best product you can for the best price.
Yeah.
And I think that opening another store or 5 more stores is like, it's just very difficult. It's almost like a nightmare.
Yeah,
to be
well,
honest.
And that's one of the things that was talked about is really like, everyone's thinking, oh my God, there's going to be so many stores that are going to be popping up. And they were like, well, really, there's not that much real estate out there in the Denver area at the least, where you're going to be able to open up that many more stores. It's just that each existing store, if you go to the recreational side, you're just going to deal with that much more volume.
Well, and that's
Sure.
it. Is that I think part of it is not going to. You're right, Dave. Is not going to be finding additional retail outlets. It's going to be looking for or having the city and county of Denver, the state of Colorado, rezoning areas so that these warehouses are outfitted enough or zoned correctly so that more product can be grown. Because we're at 105,000 right now, and nobody can keep up. Well, yeah, I mean, you go 55% of the state, there's 5 million people in the state. I mean, if you do the math on it, if only 40% of them started smoking weed or actually came out and started doing it the legal way, you're looking at 2 million people. There's no way. We can't even keep up with 105,000 right now.
And that's not even counting the out-of-state tourism that we're going to start seeing.
Well,
tourism
and I think
in there.
the other thing that is what most people don't see, like ourselves, we still haven't even really maximized our facility. We're just baby stepping right now, and we can't. And the way that works is because you have to sign up patients, you have to retain patients, and then once you have the plant count, then you could start building and you could start expanding. So with that particular model, there isn't that tie, so it doesn't slow businesses down. And that's, for us, we actually, since the Cup, we got a huge influx of patients, and then there was the THC hemp connoisseur, and we, pulled off of online organizations. We tried to pull our marketing back, and that was because we were trying to expand and keep up with the current patient base.
Right.
We didn't really want any new patients, and now for us, we've kind of caught up to that. And now, we've got 100 strains and tons of product because now we're growing for more patients. But then we have to slow back down again.
So how relieved are you going to be? It sounds like you guys are probably going to go to the recreational license. Is that true, or is it just something you're just considering?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. For everything we've done and why we started River Rock and why I did. I mean, I started as a medical patient. Right. I'm here for medical patients, and I'm going to try to do everything I can for the patients, and I'm going to try to keep it as low as possible for them and myself, and I'm going to try to make it a home for vets, ISS, disabled, people with low incomes. We've got all kinds of programs right now trying to get them the best and the cheapest meds they possibly can. And when I can make a home for them and actually complete the, so to speak, River Rock dream to get the whole entire facility completed, then I could kind of analyze that and say, collectively as a team, where are we at? But we're not even 25% there yet.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think that, and I love all the things that you guys work on. Is there anything new that you haven't shared with your general public yet that you want to talk about that's coming down the line for River Rock?
I mean, basically we've really tried to make and foster these relationships within the genetics community. We've worked really hard and exclusively with Rare Dankness, really good genetics company that's up and coming. So we're going to focus on, when I say quality, we're going to focus on, genetics, and we're going to focus on bringing up the best that we can in CBD strains. We're working on THC strains.
Oh, really? Interesting.
We're working on, some different types of supplements, some different types of products that are coming from the plant that we're working on from, going from different concentrate extraction processes. So, we started with that CBD oil that took the High Times Cup medical side, and then we started to get into the powders and compounds, and then we're starting, we just came out with a CBN wax that's actually used with light and heat. So we changed a THC activated oil, and we converted that to CBN.
Wow.
And going through these different processes, you start to really take a look at the cannabinoid profile of the plant. And a lot of growers and people that are out there don't really understand that. And the cannabinoid profile is 66 plus, and there's terpenes and there's cannabinoids. And you're trying to, when you get into genetics and getting into the medical side, you're really trying to figure that out and then start to manipulate those ratios. And that's when we were at that, last High Times Medical Cup, we just had a big sign that said CBD strain. Everyone thought we were nuts. They didn't even understand what was going on. That's because we stumbled upon one of the only sativa, non-psychoactive based ratio strains where it was almost a 15% CBD and a 9% THC. And then you've got, like you said, different players, organizations that are out there. Greenworks has a very good CBD strain. They won your CBD contest.
The R4 oil,
Their ratio is correct. So when you start talking to the different organizations and people that are in the industry and have been on it from the ground floor, they're getting into that, and they're starting to discover how to manipulate those profiles for beneficial and therapeutic products. And I think that the edible world, as well as that supplement world, is the next step. You see Dixie Elixir has a product out. They're doing a bunch of products as well, and I think that you're going to see a lot of the high quality companies producing these type of products from the plant. And as we know, with the passing of 64, that also opens up the hemp, and no one's really talking about that yet.
Oh, we've been talking about it.
Oh, that's going to be a whole nother show for us, Tony.
Yeah, we're going to talk. We're covering all about hemp next week. Just for not next week because that's Thanksgiving. That's Thanksgiving. But
overlooking that,
they are.
Like,
they are. Rob Corey was speaking at the Marijuana Business Conference, and I went up to him afterwards. I'm like, man, you didn't mention hemp once, because they were talking about all of the future business possibilities of hemp. And he's like, and he actually lit up, and he's like, I know. He's like, but I'm talking to marijuana people, and they're all worried about their marijuana business, and none of them are listening to me when it comes to hemp because the farmers aren't in the room with me. And he's like, I want to talk about hemp, but he's like, I don't have the audience that really is there to listen about it because they're worried about what's in the future for their dispensary. So we're going to focus on, we're taking Thanksgiving off next week, but the Thursday after Thanksgiving, we will be talking about the future of the hemp industry in Colorado because of 64, and I'm excited about that show.
That's the model I'd like to see. Like, no one's talking about it. Like, what do you have to do? What's the licensing procedures? Where's the zoning going to be for that? How much can you cultivate? There's 5,000 businesses and products that can be developed just from that one plant. At least, I mean, people that understand hempcrete, hemp clothing, paper. I mean, it goes on and on forever. Protein.
Tony,
I don't have to tell you guys.
You're my new best friend now, buddy, because getting you on here talking about marijuana. As soon as we get into the hemp thing, just like a lot of these marijuana businesses, there's eyes light up and everything like that. But being hemp and being the hemp connoisseur is man, we need to get you in here in the next couple weeks. Seriously, in the studio and talk to you about hemp. Only hemp.
But I would have loved that, because it's, to me, I mean, I was looking at the political debates and everything with Romney and Obama and how many jobs they're going to create. Just take a step back and say, okay, if we opened up, let's just say hemp in half the United States, and we brought farming back into the United States, and we went from 3 and 4% to 20%, as the astronomical economical stimulus that creates, I would imagine you could create 2 to 4 million new jobs and
just in
billions of dollars.
Yep.
Well, we've looked at studies, and it was 5% of the farmable land in Colorado grew hemp. You're looking at about $109 million in revenue.
Hey, I hate to cut you guys
Just for
off, but we have a little timer going
I
off
know,
here.
I know. Yeah, we're past
this
time.
is perfect for the next one. I'll
That-
come on
this-
for the hemp show.
Awesome.
Beautiful,
We'll
man.
definitely
We'd
have
love
you
to
back.
have you, Tony.
Tony, before we go, look, River Rock is awesome dispensary. You guys are one of the best in Colorado. You're always at the cutting edge of moving forward and progressing this movement. Please share with everybody your favorite strain that you guys have in stock right now, your favorite concentrate, and then again, give us your addresses so everybody knows where to go.
Okay. I would say my favorite strain right now is the Jack Frost, or the Face Wreck by Rare Dankness. Both of those strains are good.
Nice.
Favorite concentrate is the Rock Butter Urkel Rec and the Essential Extracts Chemban.
Nice.
You can get those at 4935 York Street or at 9906 Ave. And we are running specials for all members. Can get select ounces of $160 an ounce, and new members and renewals are $100 ounces.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Do you guys have any events coming up, Tony? Because I know, like, during the summertime, you guys did barbecues and things like that. So
We do. We're actually doing a Thanksgiving event next week, Wednesday. And last year we had like 8 different types of turkeys, fed like 200 to 300 patients. And we're going to be doing that at 4935 York Street. Free food for everyone that shows up that's a patient.
cool. And all the people out there that don't have red cards that want to call and ask you if they can come in and purchase their marijuana, what's the number they can reach you on?
Yeah, right.
We're just going to tell them to go ahead and shut up, get your red card so you can purchase from River Rock for the next year. And then,
There you go.
then they can just legally purchase without one in the 2014.
Awesome.
Tony, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you, Tony.
man. We look forward to having you back again, and definitely we want to talk with you about the hemp side, of course. Appreciate what you do, man. Just keep up the great work you guys do over there at River Rock.
And anything we can do at the Hemp Connoisseur magazine, man, you let us know, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
Have a good one,
Have a
bro.
great day.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. As always, we have gone over our time. This time, 6 minutes over our time, judging by the
So
clock.
we're not doing.
We're not too bad. But we were told we were going to get shut off at 5. Thank you for not shutting us off at 5, because I definitely wanted to hear everything Tony had to say. Awesome guy.
Thanks again, Tony.
Dude, guys, check out River Rock, man. If you have not been there, you guys are going to really be impressed with what they do over there.
I just gotta say one more thing is that before we actually met Dave, I wholesaled for River Rock, and their product is
It's really
holy
good.
crap.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's like
It's
they
good.
know what they're doing over there, and it's clean, and
They
it's
do.
so
And
go,
their
go check them out.
concentrate, Bo, who does their concentrates and has also Nicotine, who does all the solventless stuff, they do an amazing job with
Yep.
concentrates. So guys,
So.
go check them out. They really are awesome. You're really going to get some of the best product you'll get in Colorado.
So. My
But
partner is
I'm David.
I'm Jason.
Thanks for joining us today.
Peace, love, and happiness.